I'm Dr. Bill Witherspoon, and behind me is the very special place, Fernbank Science Center, where I work. This place was built in the 1960s when America was pulling together its science, technology, engineering, and mathematics know-how in a big push to land a person on the moon by the end of the decade. People gathered here in 1969 to watch Neil Armstrong step onto the moon. A real Apollo spacecraft like the one in which Armstrong traveled is in our exhibit hall. There's a 500-seat planetarium with a brand new digital movie dome and an observatory that lets you study stars and planets on clear Thursday and Friday nights. We are part of the DeKalb County, Georgia schools, and we make science an adventure for students both here and in your classroom. I'm a geologist. That means I'm a scientist who studies rocks, and today you will be studying rocks as well.
This program is called Local Rocks and Minerals, and you may already know that all rocks are made of minerals. And when we say local, we mean what you find right around here. And I'm in DeKalb County, Georgia, and there's actually a much larger area where you find these same rocks and minerals. If you look at a geologic map of North America, that's a map that shows where rocks are, it turns out that these kinds of rocks will be found just about everywhere inside the red line. And the area extends from around Auburn, Alabama, through Washington, D.C. and New York, all the way to Canada.
One of the places I can find a lot of different kinds of rocks is right here behind my house. And I'm standing in a creek bed, which is a great place to look for rocks because rocks tend to wash downstream from the creek banks where they get eroded. And so I'm going to look and see what kind of rocks this creek has washed downstream for me today. So I'm going to try not to fall in as I cross the creek here. And so when I look down here on the edge of the creek, I find here's a rock that's got a lot of glitter in it. Here's a dark looking rock. I have a mineral here that is real light colored and actually lets some light into it, lets some light through it almost. And they're rocks with dots and they're rocks with stripes. And most people don't know the names of these rocks. So you're going to learn today the names of a lot of these rocks. And the rocks that you can find in your backyard, anywhere around this area.
Of course, I do have plants like these around my house, as well as rocks, and animals like these too. And I bet you know the names of my plants and animals: pine tree, oak, rose, four-leaf clover, turtle, and maybe cardinal. When I held up the black rock, that was all you knew about it. So today we hope to fill in a little more of your knowledge about nature. You'll be working with others at your table to identify your rocks. Look in the upper right corner of your paper to see what your job is. If it says your job is mat manager, raise your hand. That's a very important job. If it says your job is coordinator, raise your hand. That's a very important job. If it says you are the supervisor, the small sack supervisor, raise your hand. That's a very important job. If it says you are the big bag boss, raise your hand. That's a very important job. These are all important jobs, and everybody will have to understand their job to work with the rocks. But before we can work with the rocks, we need to learn a little bit and write some notes down about how to recognize the rocks.